Now at 5:30 on Newswatch.
Athens City Council approves a big purchase, technology that allows police to scan cell phones.
A Buck Wild star dies. Tonight, investigators know why.
And in sports, the Bobcats return to the Run for a date with Xavier. Newswatch starts right now.
Broadcasting live from WOUB TV in Athens. This is Newswatch.
Moving a portrait of Jesus from one Southeast Ohio school to another hasn't fended off a lawsuit. Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrew Fowler.
And I'm Brooke Ellis. Two groups sued the Jackson City School District in February, and now they've updated their complaint. The American Civil Liberties Union of Ohio and the Wisconsin-based Freedom from Religion Foundation say the picture unconstitutionally promotes religion at a public school. The portrait of Jesus hung in the middle school, but last month it was moved to the high school. School officials say taking the portrait down would censor students' private speech. A developing story now. Within the past few hours, investigators have released the cause of death of an MTV reality show star. 21-year-old Shane Gandy of Buck Wild died from carbon monoxide poisoning. He and two passengers were found dead in his truck yesterday. Authorities in West Virginia say the truck was stuck in a mud hole with its tailpipe submerged. It's possible the gas could have filled the cabin because of the clogged exhaust pipe. Autopsies confirmed the three men died from the gas. Their deaths had been ruled accidental.
A substitute high school teacher has been arrested for allegedly having sex with a teenage girl. The Washington County Sheriff's Office says this man, 24-year-old Devin Binniger, had sex with a 15-year-old girl twice in the summer of 2011. Investigators say Binniger and the teen had sex at a party in Washington County and again another time at a different party in the same month. The man substitutes for Frontier High School in New Matamoros. Investigators believe Binniger may have had sex with other underage girls. Also in Washington County, another 24-year-old is accused of having sex with a 15-year-old girl he met at a party. This man, Shane Dye, faces rape charges. Investigators say the victim blacked out after drinking moonshine at the party. The victim says Dye told her they had sex after she woke up on a couch in a home in Marietta. The teen later gave birth to a child, and a DNA test shows that Dye is in fact the father. He's currently behind bars in the Washington County Jail.
Two family members of a young Circleville woman who was beaten to death in a neighborhood brawl are behind bars tonight. A judge set bail for these two, 26-year-old Daniel Harris and 18-year-old Angel Haynes, earlier today. They're being held on bail of $500,000 each. Last week's brawl left 21-year-old Brittany Jeffers dead. Harris was her uncle and Haynes was her stepsister. They'll be allowed out of jail to attend her funeral Thursday. Also behind bars is this man from Meigs County. 40-year-old James Gardner will spend the next 15 years in prison for murdering his father. He pleaded guilty today and was sentenced by a judge to 15 years to life in prison. Gardner killed his father in the man's Middleport home in November.
Well, the sun was out and we had a few clouds in the sky. It began to look a little bit like spring outside. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. Right now in Athens, Ohio, 44 degrees, sunny skies, a few clouds here and there, but wind variable at 8 miles per hour. Gusts, however, up to 20 miles per hour. Humidity at 27%, dew point at 10 degrees. And then around the region, southern portions of our region actually hit low 50s today. Right now, most of the southern portion is at 49 degrees, 47 in Ripley, then 37 in St. Clairsville and Steubenville. Overnight tonight, you'll see that frost as you make your way up tomorrow and start your day. Midnight, we should be out at 29, and then 3 a.m. we should be at 24 degrees. Brooke and Andrew, we're going to have a warm-up, though, coming up. I'm going to give you all the details in my full forecast.
I don't know how I feel about these 24, 30 temperatures, in April. I think
hopefully
we should.
Mother Nature wants winter to hold on just one more week.
All right, thanks so much, Andrew. We'll check in with you a little bit later for your full forecast. The Athens Police Department is buying special units that can scan cell phones during criminal investigations. City Council approved the $17,000 purchase last night. Police will use the money to buy 3 software and hardware combination units that can analyze cell phone data. Investigators will only be able to analyze phones if they are given permission or have a warrant.
1 in 3 people in Athens County live in poverty. The Friends and Neighbors Food Pantry serves thousands of people each year, helping to make ends meet.
They have tried their churches, they've went to their parents, to their other relatives, to friends. They have pretty much looked everywhere before they have to come to an organization like this and say, hey, I can't feed us.
On any day of the year, Lisa Roberts can be found handing out boxes, cans, and clothing to those in need at the Friends and Neighbors Food Pantry in Southeast Ohio's tiny town Coolville, where she is director. Unemployed for nearly 3 years, Tamara Bragg, a mother of 3, struggles to provide for her family.
We usually turn to here to get the extra clothing that our children need, the extra food that they need. It's really rough. I have gone to bed many a times not eating, so they would.
A life even Lisa herself is all too familiar with.
I can remember one night we had the popcorn party. The kids thought it was absolutely great. We had popcorn for dinner, unbuttered white popcorn. That was dinner. And it was rough. You know, it was rough. It's rough when you have to admit that I can't feed my kids tonight. That was one of the most humiliating and sad and scary nights of my life.
For a family of 3 in Athens County, living in poverty can mean living off of as little as $10,000 a year. And for some, without the help of the food in this box, many would go hungry. Job and Family Services Coordinator Nick Clausen continues to try and increase the assistance families like these receive as the need heads in only one direction, up.
I know people make mistakes and people make bad decisions, but there's so much piling on and so much negativity towards anyone who's poor, and we're just demonizing the poor in this country. They just want to get by, and they just want to succeed just like everyone else, but they're just stuck at this bad moment in their life right now, and sometimes there's not enough help there to get them out of it.
I have made it this far, this long, only by God's desire. And so I've always tried to say, I'm gonna push out what I've got today, and we're gonna feed it, and I'm just gonna count on finding a way to bring it in the next day. And that's always pretty well worked. But at the same time, it's terrifying.
Friends and Neighbors Food Pantry is open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and they also serve lunch every Wednesday at the Lot Ridge Community Center from noon to 3 p.m.
An Ohio University Cafe is one of only 8 restaurants in the state to be certified as green. The honor comes from the Green Restaurant Association. And Francis McFadden is the chef and general manager at the Atrium Cafe and joins us now in our studio. Thanks for being here tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Well, my first question is that getting the certification was not an easy process. What kinds of things did you do to get the certification?
You're right, it wasn't an easy process. It was about an 8-month process and included working with a student, one of our PACE students at Ohio University. And you basically start with an inventory of the existing conditions of the cafe and then a forward look of where you'd like to go. And you do that by looking at what's referred to as a star symbol. They have a 2, a 3, and 4-star symbol in terms of your certification. So we decided to go for a 2-star symbol, which you can do in about a year, and then progress through the process for the next couple of years. So we went through this audit process, and we take a look at 6 or 7 areas where we can make changes to become more green, from the type of food that we serve to the type of discharge that leaves the restaurant.
And one of the areas that they look at is not just food and the related materials, but also furnishings. And I see that's what's coming up in the future.
That is. Fixtures and furnishings are an area where during the first year they will give you a pass, because many restaurants already exist. And it wouldn't be reasonable to ask somebody, well, you have to start tearing down some walls as soon as you start the certification process. But over the next 3 years, we will look at the types of materials in our tables, in our walls, take a look at some LEED certification when it comes to the type of paints that we use. And that is most certainly in our long-range plans as we move through the 3-star and the 4-star process.
Obviously, food was one of the categories they looked at. How is the diet, a person's diet, related to sustainability?
In so many ways. You think we are just we're a nation on the go, and so one of the things that comes up right away is packing and how we pack. And it used to be that large, bigger pack would attract a better client, but now we look at minimal packing as the way to do it. The types of plastics that we're using, are they recyclable? How quick will they return during a mulch process or any other type of process that as we reclaim the product back into the earth? And so they're the types of things that we're looking at.
And now the Atrium Cafe also has a partnership with several food banks in Southeast Ohio. Can you explain that partnership?
Well, our particular partnership is with the 30-mile meal. It's part of the Athens Convention and Visitors Bureau. Basically, it's part of our large tourism plan. And so when you start thinking of Farm to Fork concepts, you usually look at 100-mile, 200-mile radius. But for Athens, it's really ambitious. Actually, one of the most ambitious processes you'll see. It's a 30-mile meal process. And so how much food can you get within that area? And we do a pretty good job, because we are both educational and a restaurants. We do rely on our larger vendors because we have a dual mission in there. But, we are independent Ohio University's independent student-run restaurant, and so, I've got a couple of things that I'm juggling at one time.
Yeah. All right, Mr. McFadden, thanks so much for being here tonight.
Thank you so much.
With the presidential election in the rearview mirror, it's time to head to the polls again. Ohioans can now start casting early ballots for local races and issues. The state's top election officials say voters in 74 counties will decide local races and more than 350 local issues. Those include 100 school issues and a number of local tax levies, bond issues, and charter amendments. Voters can cast early ballots in person or by mail before Election Day. Monday is the last day to register for next month's election, which is set for May 7th. Some good news to report on Ohio's economic front. The state's per capita income rose at one of the fastest rates in the nation last year. In Ohio, per capita personal incomes rose by 1.7% to $39,000. The statistic is a sign of the economy in the state that this economy in the state is recovering more quickly than economies elsewhere in the country. Ohio's increase was larger than all but 2 other states.
The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the use of drug-sniffing dogs outside a suspect's home without a search warrant is unconstitutional.
Coming up, we'll talk to an Ohio University political science professor about what this ruling means for the future.
And the National Rifle Association releases its school safety recommendations. These stories and more next on Newswatch.
On Nova, a mysterious mechanism 2,000 years old.
The first time the human race have created a computer.
Can scientists crack its code?
They realized there were 27 gears inside this thing.
To track the complex movements of the moon and probably all the planets as well. It rewrites the history of technology.
Ancient Computer on Nova.
Scientists are asking the question, do plants behave like animals? They don't have a brain, but there is evidence they can communicate, cooperate, and even wage war.
It's the plant's way of calling out for help.
It's time to shed light on the secret life of plants.
Should school workers be the first responders in the event of an armed gunman?
A group of experts put together by the National Rifle Association released its finding on how it feels your child's school could be made safer. Shelby Lynn reports.
A scene no one wants to see repeated, grieving after the mass shooting in Newtown, Connecticut last December. On Tuesday, the National Rifle Association announced the findings of an initiative on school safety it commissioned after the tragedy. Among the recommendations from the group, headed by Asa Hutchinson, a training program on firearms for school staff members who choose to do so.
The key is reducing that response time.
Hutchinson, a former top official of the Department of Homeland Security, said 40 to 60 hours of training would be required for school officials to be armed.
Let me emphasize, this is not talking about all teachers. Teachers should teach.
Other findings by the initiative: school resource officers already in place could undergo enhanced training, and many schools need improvements in security infrastructure, such as better locks and fencing. Vice President Biden said in a phone call with supporters last week he's open to police officers in schools that want them, but would draw the line there.
The last thing we need and ask any teacher is to arm teachers. armed teachers, turn schools into armed camps.
The NRA does not support major reforms on restricting guns, and some believe public support for that has waned in the months since Newtown. President Obama plans to put gun control reforms back in the spotlight with a trip Wednesday to Aurora, Colorado, site of the movie theater shooting spree that killed 12 and wounded many others. Reporting for WOUB News, I'm Shelby Lynn.
This news comes a day after a small town in Georgia signs a new measure mandating heads of households to own a gun. The law does make exceptions for felons, those with mental disabilities, and those who oppose gun ownership for religious reasons.
The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that the use of drug-sniffing dogs outside a suspect's home in Miami was a search under the Fourth Amendment and should have required a search warrant. Co-author of the book Supervision: An Introduction to the Surveillance Society has details on what restrictions will come from this ruling. And now, John Gilliam joins us in our studio. Can you just briefly explain, what this ruling was overall?
Okay. The ruling fits into the context of some other drug dog rulings. But this most recent one holds that if a drug dog and an officer come onto the porch of a family home without a warrant, that amounts to a search, an unreasonable search. In other cases, they've argued that if a drug dog sniffs your car, that's not a search. And so we're getting into this very interesting situation where it's really not so much about the dogs, it's about the location.
Okay, I mean, just to go a little bit further into that, what searches require a search warrant and which ones do not? I mean,
well, typically a full-blown investigative search requires a warrant. And what they've ruled in terms of the previous drug dog cases, and this is a little bit baffling to those of us outside of the court, they've ruled that a drug dog sniff of, let's say, your car or your luggage is not even a search. And the reason that they argue that is that they hold that there are smells coming out of the luggage or the car. They don't have to open it up. There's just a dog sniffing it. And if they do happen to smell contraband inside, that's something which is illegal anyway, so you don't have a legitimate right to that privacy claim. So if you're in your car, if you're on the street, if you're in the airport, you have no constitutional protection against a drug dog search unless there's some certain other violations which occur. But what they've ruled in this case is that the home is something special, and that when they came up onto the porch, they crossed a line, and that violated the Fourth Amendment.
So this doesn't rule out drug-sniffing dogs as a whole?
Absolutely not. In fact, there was another case argued earlier this fall which really gave the green light because it removed a lot of the potential for challenging drug dogs on their accuracy. And we know from other cases that drug dogs have a reliability of about 65 to 85% in a lot of cases, which is not that high when you think of how widely they're being used. But the court ruled that basic certification would be enough and there wouldn't be a lot of specific questioning about dog accuracy.
Okay, and lastly, what does this mean for people in Southeast Ohio, just people around this area in general?
Well, to really explain the meaning, I'd want to back away from drug dogs for a second and get in to the broader question of the way that our society talks about new surveillance technologies. A little bit earlier in the show, you were talking about this new police capacity to examine the messages that are in people's cell phones. And that's just one new breakthrough. Drug dogs, cell phones, all sorts of different dimensions coming into the surveillance society. And I think one of the most interesting things about the drug dog cases is they show a sort of almost comical incoherence. We can't decide what's going on, when privacy matters, when it's violated, when the Constitution matters. We really can't make sense of it. And the book we've written, Supervision, attempts to put together the pieces for people to make that sense.
Okay. Well, Mr. Gilliam, thank you so much for joining in our studio tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
A new report shows that more Americans are paying their credit card bills on time. About 2.5% of bank credit cards had an outstanding payment in the final quarter of 2012. That number is down from just over 5% in 2009. The report comes from the American Bankers Association, which also shows fewer late payments for home equity loans and home improvement loans. Analysts say that this is a sign that more consumers are trying to pay down their debt. And on Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average hit another record high.
Spring-like weather ahead, which means a warm-up. I'm going to give you all the details, plus my 7-day forecast when Newswatch returns.
I'm Michael Feinstein. Join me on a journey across America and through time as we explore the music of Broadway with help from some Broadway royalty. Tony Award winner Christine Ebersol.
He never really wrote like Cole Porter, but he
Stephen Sondheim.
said, hey, we need a Cole
And the
Porter.
amazing Angela Lansbury. It's Show Tunes on Michael Feinstein's American Songbook.
Coming up on Austin City Limits.
Welcome back to Newswatch, everyone. Hope you're having a great evening. Right now in Athens, still at 44 degrees, sunny skies, clouds here and there, but not too much to worry about. Winds variable at 8 miles per hour. Around the region, still mid-40s in the middle portion of our region. Down to the southern portion of our region, though, we're hitting 49 degrees and then 47 in Ripley. So a pretty comfortable day. All in all, almanac for today, we're still much below the average. We hit 46 today and a low of 23, but look, basically 20 degrees off of our average, which was 67 in the record, 88 degrees. We're going to need that in a couple of days here. It's been pretty cold the past couple of weeks, and the sun set at 7:53 p.m. But take a look at the averages from 2012 and 2013. This is January, February, and March. We were in January 36 and 35, so not much of a change there, but then 38 and 33 into February, and this is the huge change into March, where it was 54 last year. 39 degrees was our average this year, so pretty cold throughout the whole month, and it's going to get a little warmer because of this high pressure dominating the midwestern portion of the country, and that's going to set in tonight and in tomorrow as it pushes its way north, but still it'll affect us into Thursday as we're going to see some sunny skies. You may see a trace of a shower into late Thursday night, early Friday morning. I'll get into that in just a second, but into the night, still colder temperatures hitting. You'll see some frost as you wake up tomorrow morning, though. 22 in Parkersburg, 24 in Ripley, and then 25 in Huntington and Ashland, 26 in Portsmouth. Sunny skies all day tomorrow, though. It's going to be a really nice day. It may feel even a little bit warmer than what's showing here. The temperature showing here, 52 in Huntington, 51 in Gallipolis, and then 48 in Athens. Overnight, though, you'll see some frost as you wake up. Like I said, 3 a.m. you'll hit about 24 degrees. 20 degrees will be our low for tonight. Weather Nature still wants to hold on for just a couple more weeks, and then mostly clear skies. Daily planner for tomorrow, though, you'll see sunny skies and then 45 degrees by 3 p.m. Your high for tomorrow, 48 degrees, and the wind coming out of the north around 5 to 10 miles per hour. 7-day outlook, though, it's going to be beautiful for the rest of the week going into the weekend. A trace of very, very small chance of an isolated shower into your Friday, into late Thursday night, into Friday, but then Saturday should be beautiful to 59 degrees, and we should hit the 60s finally this weekend, Sunday, Monday, and then into your work week on Tuesday.
I don't like the 20s, but thinking about the 60s next week and this weekend sound pretty good.
Definitely looking forward to that for sure. Thanks so much, Andrew. And Mike, we have action in the Ohio baseball realm.
Yeah, baseball is finally back. Ohio baseball takes the field at Bob Redden Stadium tonight, and the Reds and Angels needed extras to decide a winner last night. That and more baseball from around the league next on Newswatch.
Hi, I'm Mark Wahlberg. Next time on Market Warriors, we're in Chicago, where Miller wears out her welcome.
I'm back! I'm going bankrupt with this lady.
Talk gets drastic over plastic.
Unfortunately, you're totally wrong.
You are absolutely wrong.
And Kevin helps Benny hedge her bets.
When they sell for $300, you'll say, I knew I was right. When they sell for $1,200, you'll be, I knew I was right.
It's all next time on Market Warriors. Antiques Roadshow is surprising Buckeyes in Cincinnati.
For 6 months, Colonel Sanders lived in our basement.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
That's what I said when I saw it.
Yeah, wow.
Was that right?
Really?
Really.
Wow.
Now, what do you think of that?
I think that's awesome.
You won't want to miss these discoveries next time on Antiques Roadshow. Ohio baseball takes the field at Bob Brennan Stadium for the first time in 10 days tonight. The Bobcats welcome Xavier to town for their 5th weeknight game of the season. Xavier comes into tonight's matchup with a 10-13 record. The Bobcats have had their struggles this season. They sit at 5-21. Freshman Jake Miller will get the start for Ohio. In 8 starts this season, Miller is 1-4 with a 5.44 ERA. He picked up a no decision in his last start, a win over Eastern Michigan on Friday. The game starts in just a few. First pitch is at 6 o'clock. Cincinnati is 0-1 after opening day at Great American Ballpark turned into opening night. The Reds and Angels needed 13 innings to settle things yesterday in the first intra-league opening day in MLB history. Angels catcher Chris Iannetta broke a 1-1 tie in the top of the 13th with a 2 RBI single to give LA a 3-1 lead. The Halos held on to win the game by the same score. Johnny Cueto allowed 1 run in 7 innings with 9 strikeouts in his first outing of the season. Matt Latos will try to even the Reds' record against C.J. Wilson and the same Angels tomorrow night. Other scores from opening day: the Chicago Cubs downed the Pittsburgh Pirates behind Jeff Samardzij's big day on the mound. In the nation's capital, Bryce Harper and Steven Strasburg powered the Nationals to a 2-0 win over the Florida Marlins. The Red Sox get the better of the New York Yankees in an 8-2 rout, and Clayton Kershaw did it all for the Dodgers. He tossed a complete game shutout and added a home run at the plate in a win over the defending World Series champions. Terry Francona's Indians open the season tonight just across the northern border against the new-look Toronto Blue Jays. Justin Masterson will be on the mound for the Tribe, while the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner R.A. Dickey makes his return to the American League for the Jays. First pitch gets underway in just less than an hour. The Cleveland Cavaliers' losing streak continues after a 102-94 loss in Atlanta last night. Kyrie Irving did not play for the Hawks after returning from a shoulder injury on Sunday. Instead, Sean Livingston got the start at point guard and scored 14 points. Maurice Spites added 23 off the bench, but it wasn't enough to stop the Hawks fighting for home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. The Cavs will try to reverse their 9-game skid tomorrow against the Brooklyn Nets in the Q. Half of the NCAA Women's Final Four is set after last night's games. The University of Connecticut will be there after an 83-53 rout of Kentucky. Breanna Stewart led the Huskies with 21 points as UConn closed the first half on a 26-3 run to take control of the game. The Final Four has become a familiar place for UConn coach Gina Auriemma's ladies. They're headed back for an NCAA record 6th consecutive year. The second game of the night provided a little bit more drama as the University of California edged out Georgia in overtime to punch its ticket to the Final Four. Laisha Clarendon led all scorers with 25 points in the win. This will be Cal's first trip to the Final Four in program history. Duke and Notre Dame will vie for a spot in the Final Four at 7 tonight, while the final spot will be filled by the winner of Louisville and Tennessee at 9. And finally, some good news. Louisville guard Kevin Ware is headed out of the hospital and headed back to campus today. Ware underwent successful surgery on Sunday to repair a gruesome broken right leg suffered in the Cardinals' Elite Eight victory. The sophomore stayed at Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis for 2 days after the operation. Ware will travel with the team to Atlanta for the Final Four, according to head coach Rick Pitino. Guys, it's a good story that he's able to recover. It looked horrible on TV, but hopefully it's not as bad as what it looked like.
Yeah, when you see that video, it's absolutely chilling to see what happened, but I'm glad he's doing better. That's definitely some good news. All right, thanks, Mike, and stay tuned tonight on WOUB.
Here's a look at what's coming up next on your public television station. And that does it for our broadcast on this Tuesday evening. Thanks for watching.
You can get the latest news and weather on the WOUB radio network, and you can view our program anytime online at WOUB.org. Have a great night.